Welcome to Pig Pods. We give you actionable insight and stories behind real-life success wherever you go. Here are your hosts, Angelos and Mo.
Hello, Mo.
Hello, Angelos. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Excellent.
So today we're going to be talking about systems, and how they're very, very important for any business, whether you're starting up or whether you're an established 100-year-old business.
We are. So, Angelos, the question has to be asked, what is a system?
Well, I think we need to differentiate between, let's say, a process and a system first, because the terms can be interchangeable. So a process is basically a sequence of events that staff can use and follow to make sure, along with a procedure and all that kind of stuff, so that they can get a job done, to make sure that again and again, no matter what happens, they can always follow a certain pattern. Whereas the systems are the tools that are in place to make sure that the process happens properly every time. So today we're going to be talking about various pros and cons of having a system in place. You know, believe it or not, there can be some cons as well. And also we're going to talk to everyone about 4 or 5 different tools that they can use today to help not only their own personal lives, but also bring it into their own business and make sure that they can perhaps automate and become a little bit more efficient within their business. So first of all, Mo, I just want to throw out to you then, why have a system in a business?
Why have a system? So I think there's multiple reasons why you would have a system in a business or in life in general. I think this is broader than just in business. You can have systems that support your general personal life as well as business. I think probably one part of it would be the benefit of repetition that you get with a system. So with a system, providing you have, the input is the same every time, you get the same output, and that's the beauty of it. So I think that's one of them. Again, similar to that is the kind of automation. So the fact that it happens automatically it can happen without any human intervention, which is a massive benefit, especially in business. And the final one I've got is around removing human error. And I think that as much as possible, we need to try and remove human error in a process, which a system does, and so yeah, human error is another one that I think that would be a good benefit of the system.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, although we all like to think that we're infallible and everyone is perfect.
Well, I mean, me and you obviously are.
Well, yeah, excluding us obviously, and obviously the listener at home.
Yeah.
But humans do make mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes can be costly.
Yeah.
Confession time. I remember when I was working in a bank when I was quite young. I was sending out tens of millions of pounds in payments, in chaps payments every day. And the system that was in place was very old school, and one of the things that we had to do was press a couple of keys to make sure that you re-queue it or send it. But unfortunately the 2 keys were right next to each other to either re-queue or resend. And you can imagine the panic when I accidentally sent £15 million to a bank by mistake without having authorization. So perhaps that system could be improved slightly.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, definitely. But also it gives management structure and reporting.
Yeah.
So month on month, year on year, they can reliably see information which has been structured in a good way, which can come out at the other end of using a good system.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also, just on what you mentioned there's also a need to have controls as well with the system. So you've got your element where you can remove the human error, but then even the system sometimes might not spit out the right result or might not give you the right outcome. So you need some controls, and maybe those controls are actually human controls. So you're kind of implementing the system to get rid of the human error, but then you bring the humans back in to look at the control and to double check those kind of things. I
mean, sometimes people think it's system versus human, but it's not. It's system and human. The two can be interchangeable, and they do rely on each other. Yes, there's an element of automation. So for example, a startup business, they will very much rely on automation tools, systems in place so that various processes, various websites can interconnect and talk to each other, and that's a great thing. You remove the human element, you automate things so it cuts down cost, which is ultimately what a startup business needs to control. Well, any business needs to control. But sometimes in a larger business where you have many different tiers of permissions and access rights. You need to maintain these things. So you need systems over systems to control the accountability and all this kind of thing.
And yeah, like you mentioned, with different access levels for different people. So you've got senior management that have more access than, say, the person that's keying the information in.
Yeah. So let's have a look at our first system stroke tool. So this is something called Evernote, which I'm sure many of our listeners have heard of before, but may not necessarily be using at the moment. So I've been using Evernote for about 3-4 years now, and I wouldn't use any other tool for note-taking. So this is a note-taking tool that you can type on your iPad, your Android phone, your computer, and it just stores all your notes centrally, or iPhone, yes. It can store all your notes centrally in the cloud, and it's all encrypted and protected, etc., etc. And what it allows you to do is, let's say you're in the car, you're a passenger, obviously not when you're driving, and you type in a few inspirational notes. You get back to your office, you continue typing where you left off on your computer, and it's absolutely brilliant. You can take pictures of business cards and it automatically saves them, pictures, attachments, etc., etc. Also allows a limited amount of collaboration, so if you want to share your notes, you can invite others, which is a really good tool. It's free for the first tier, but if you do want added features, there are obviously premium levels that you can use. But yeah, Evernote, absolutely brilliant. I really suggest that you perhaps look at it. An equivalent to it is OneNote by Microsoft, but you do need to buy the Microsoft Office package, which may necessarily not appeal to every startup business out there. Second one I want to have a look at is MailChimp. And MailChimp, again, another free tool, and it essentially adds a reporting layer to your email campaigns, which is very, very important, because with any campaign you want to make sure that you report and you measure your success rate, the open rate, did it bounce, you can do split A/B testing to see whether certain types of emails work and whether certain types of emails don't work. The great thing with MailChimp is that, like I said, it's free, and it gives you some really good reporting tools. It can show you who's opened it in real time, which region of the world that opened it, how many times an individual opened it. So you can really drive down into the nitty-gritty, so you can see who your most active readers, shall we say. And also it gives you industry average. So when you set up MailChimp, let's say for Pig, for example, it runs events during the month, I can see that the industry average is 10% open rate, which is not brilliant. Whereas Pig achieves 40% and above. So it gives a benchmark, and it also shows that people are engaging with your campaign. So it's brilliant.
Have you found, you haven't found that emails getting too noisy these days? You still getting a good conversion on the open rates?
The good thing with Pig, or with your own event or your brand, or whatever you're deciding to send a campaign about, is that if you have an engaged audience, they will open that email. Yes, there is a lot of noise. We are all spammed to death, but I get a lot of questions about noise and email, and I find the easiest thing to do is whenever you get any spam, I know it sounds so simple, but it does save you so much time in the long run, is just click unsubscribe there and then. Get rid of it, move on to the next one. I mean, when I wake up in the morning, I get maybe 2-3 emails, not because I'm not a popular person, my mum emails me every morning, I'm sure I'm okay, but it cuts down all that noise. And I know a lot of people live a lot of busy lives and they don't have a lot of time, but MailChimp shows you the most amount of opens of your email and at what time. So it gives you the best time that you could possibly send your email and the best conversion rate.
So what is the best time to send an email?
I generally find it's between 1 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
On a specific day?
I tend to go for Monday, Tuesday, because by the time you hit Thursday, Friday, people are generally in that kind of decline of the week. But these stats are always changing. MailChimp does offer some paid features where they can send it at what they believe is the right time for you. But generally speaking, after doing it for 4 or 5 years now, you do pick up a pattern of when people do it.
I think people are overlooking social media, overlooking emails in favour of social media, and we're going to advertise on Facebook and things like that. And actually, it sounds like there's still business to be done through emails.
Yeah, I mean, they all have their place. Even Post does. I mean, more so now than before, because everyone is so swamped with emails. But yeah, they're equally important, I find, and ignore email at your peril. But that's
like you say, even Post. We've just done a direct mail campaign, and we've had some hits back from that already, some inquiries, which is really encouraging. We sent out 450 bits of mail, and have had a few back, which actually, you know, is more expensive than sending emails or than advertising on Facebook, but actually for the right kind of business it can definitely still be valuable.
So very quickly, Mo, did you write each letter, seal each envelope, put the stamp on and hand it out yourself, or was there some kind of system in place?
Well, that's a great question. There was a system in place, indeed. Yeah, there's a company that we used online. There are loads of them. You send the template for the letter that you want to send. You choose what kind of style you want it in, coloured paper and all of that. You then upload all of the addresses and the names into a spreadsheet. You have to clean the data up a bit, upload that to their website. It uploads it all and it scans it all and throws out any addresses that aren't in the right format. It highlights where the addresses are abroad, and it's going to have to charge you more postage than it would if it was a UK address. And then it sends it, and it was fantastic. I did a test one to our office just to make sure they were all getting through, and it looked great. It looked fantastic. So we'll definitely be using that again. But yeah, a great system. So can you imagine how long it would have taken for me to write out 450 letters?
Indeed. And then post them. And how much time stroke you?
I think we paid 47p plus VAT for them, and that was for a colour letter.
Versus your hourly rate of going out manually posting it, plus exactly, wrestling with the local dog which tries to rip off your arm. Yeah, so yeah, definitely
another great system. There you go, bonus one for the list. Wasn't even on the list. But
okay, so that's MailChimp, and let's have a look at creativity, productivity.
Ooh.
Yes, big words. So
you thought we were just about business. No.
We're going to have a look at our friends at Microsoft Office and our friends at Google Documents.
Yeah.
So we have a system in place or a set of tools in place called Office 365, which allows you to essentially do your Word, do your Excel, PowerPoint, on all those funky things, and you can do them on the move wherever and whenever you go. And a great thing is that all the changes are saved back in the cloud, where you get lots of storage, and you can just resume and pick up where you left off.
And how do you find doing that on a mobile device when you've got something like Excel? Is it easy to use?
I've got a Galaxy Note, so it's got a bigger than normal screen, but I generally find, unless it's for very quick edits, it's not necessarily going to have the horsepower or the screen real estate to show you a massive Excel spreadsheet, but it is good for just very quickly having a look. So that's awesome. But generally speaking, you do want something like an iPad or tablet, and moving up from there. But it's great to have it on all platforms. Yeah, to have the ability to edit as you go is fantastic. It's brilliant. And also the free equivalent is Google Docs, and it's instantly saved. Every key press you make is instantly saved. I almost want to start singing Sting there. Every press you say. But yeah, it's the Google equivalent. They're very good. So you've got Google Docs, Sheets, etc. And that's a free tool for any business, because essentially we all need to use Word or Excel
absolutely.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very good tool to use.
Cool.
And also it's great for collaborating as well. You can see in real time, especially with Google anyway, you can see in real time that someone is making edits to your documents. So it's a good way of teams working together, so it's awesome. And finally, I want to talk about the importance of a backup system. So everyone seems to think in their mind, yes, we have some kind of backup, whether I back it up onto a pen drive or in the cloud somewhere, but sometimes you really do need to learn the hard way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And you have to balance up the cost of a backup system, and sometimes it can be £50 a month, or you buy a system outright for, let's say, £100 or £200, depending on your level, and it goes right up to £1,000 with a corporate level backup product. But you balance the cost of the acquisition versus the time, the despair, the loss of business.
Disruption to business,
Absolutely. For not having a good backup system in place. So it's absolutely key, whether you're a one-man band or you have 500 employees, it's so important to make sure. So for example, there are tools out there called Acronis. They're an industry standard. They're very, very good at backing up, whether it's personal or business. And then you have something like iDrive, which backs up any device, Android, iPhone, straight to the cloud, so you always have it available. And the great thing with the cloud is that generally the data will be encrypted, so even if they are hacked, which invariably a lot of cloud providers are, you can always have access to your data, hopefully without it being hijacked by some unknown. And the great thing is with having it on the cloud is that you can pull it back down again no matter where you are. So for example, if your business goes up in flames, you can jump across to your emergency site or another store and download it all again. So it's absolutely brilliant to have, and absolutely important. You must never not have a backup solution. Double negative there, but yeah.
I get really worried about my like photos and videos, because I think, you know, a lot of things I could recreate. You know, I could recreate Word documents and templates and PowerPoints and emails and all of that. But actually, photos and videos would be really, really hard, well, impossible to go back in time and recreate those. So they're probably the first thing I back up after, obviously, all the business stuff. Because I think there's so much sentimental value in those that if you lost those, that would literally, you know, that'd be the end.
Yeah, and sometimes it's as simple as backing up to a hard drive.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, computers do fail. They are spinning little machines, and they do fail, unfortunately. But it's good. Let's say worst case scenario, something happens to your home, you're burgled. All of that data could be lost forever. So it's good to automate and have a system in place to make sure it's backed up regularly elsewhere, outside somewhere. But then you've got to balance that out against privacy and making sure that wherever it's backed up is encrypted, and making sure that your nice modelling photos, Mo, aren't necessarily hacked and put out for the whole world, you know, to see.
Yeah. So I think the other thing we were going to talk about was talking about the people versus software kind of element, and actually, in a new business, when you start to scale up, do you go for having more people doing the work, or do you go for having more systems, and what's the benefits and drawbacks of both of those? So what do you think the benefit of having a system in place is?
So for a startup, a one-man band, it's essential.
Yeah.
You know, because ultimately he or she can't afford staff, because they're a very expensive commodity to have. But at the end of the day, you need to start off with good systems straight away. So for example, one thing in my IT career, in a previous life, I remember where the business didn't necessarily have a very good personnel HR system in place, and the software they bought was very cheap and not very good. Whereas in the end, they realised that actually this was a false economy, and they had to rebuy and re-implement it all over again. So to answer your question, yes, for a startup business, for a one-man band, maybe even like for a couple of people, yes, systems absolutely key, and don't necessarily always go with cheap, because in the long run you want to make sure that you can scale up. And the good thing with a lot of online businesses is that you can scale up with different tier pricing, and it's monthly as opposed to you know, spending all the capital up front for a £500 or £1,000 piece of software. You have a subscription model, so that does take the burden off. So yeah, definitely, those are some of the pros, I would say.
Do you think there's a downside in terms of flexibility with systems as opposed to using people?
Yeah, so a person can be moulded and trained any way you want them, within reason.
Within the employment contract that you've got.
And is legal, But the thing with systems is that ultimately they are written by humans at a certain time and a certain date and with a certain need. And sometimes as a business grows, it will have different needs, and sometimes those systems can't keep up, or aren't written with an element of flexibility, or they're not supported anymore. So although systems are great, it would be even better if they could evolve. So the argument there could be that you bring in the system in-house and you create your own system. But again, that has its negatives in the fact that you have to make sure you have programmers on site and you have the source code and all that kind of stuff.
Is this I'm not very techie, so you have to help me out, but is this machine learning? Is this where the systems actually get more intelligent over time and start to learn from kind of the inputs that go into them?
So yeah, we're going to have a separate podcast on AI, aren't we? Humans versus AI. Exciting times. But I think as we give more information out to the internet, and we are literally broadcasting our lives and listening to it even, which is even better. Machines are becoming very, very smart. IBM are doing some fantastic stuff with Watson, and the fact that they can analyse so much information so quickly. And with the advent of quantum computing coming along, it could be incredibly fast. It's just beyond our imagination of what computers could do. Will they replace humans? In some respects, yes, they will. There is that element of fear of an uncertainty. I mean, just like when we had the Industrial Revolution, it replaced a lot of human jobs, but you know, we still need to maintain these systems. There will be other jobs that come out of it.
Just different kind of jobs.
We just need to adapt. And as entrepreneurs, we will always adapt to whatever's thrown at us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a challenge and an opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't see it as a threat as such. We'll just keep aware of it. But it's exciting times. It really is. Great. Okay, cool. So we've had a look at systems versus processes. And
yep.
Although the terms are interchangeable, there are differences between the two. We've had a look at backup solutions, note-taking, Office on the go and MailChimp. And then we've had a brief discussion about some pros and cons of having systems within a business. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Please click subscribe, it doesn't cost that much. And we look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
You've been listening to Pig Pods. Click subscribe for more incredible content. More details can be found at www.pig.network.